Come on. I'm right here. Skate!
I guess I should explain myself, huh? When I last left the .hack universe, I left you all on a pretty significant cliffhanger. Ovan is tri-edge, he's dead, Alcade and Shino are still dead, and Haseo is miserable. Smash cut to credits. But that's not the full conclusion of Volume 2. While yes, the game does end as I presented, I wasn't entirely forthcoming with you guys. That's because I think the empty, mysterious fade to black with the protagonist at his lowest point, completely lost as to what to do next, is a perfect ending. I think it's how Volume 2 should have ended. But that isn't technically the case. There is a sequence that you're kicked into after the credits where you receive an email from Adelie asking Haseo to come to Hule Grounds to talk. What it is exactly she wanted to speak about isn't clear, as they're almost instantly interrupted by something unintentionally hilarious.
Haseo, I want to say...
I'm sorry, this scene is just really funny. I don't think anyone really believed Ovan was just gonna be removed from the story. So a post-credits scene that exists more or less solely to reveal he's still alive, and in the form of a bad touch jump scare, it's not doing it for me. I think the first ending already had a perfect tone to leave off on, and don't freak out, I'm not saying it's a major mistake or anything, it's just my preference. It's not like this scene is super important going into the next volume anyway. Which we aren't doing yet. I need to discuss the post-game that I skipped last time. I broke down the continuing adventures of our Doppel buddy and his collection of overpowered drops, but didn't dig into the second phase of the Abyss quest. Two reasons for that. The first being, like I said, I feel the first ending was perfect because it was a sudden, unexpected stopping point, so I found it fitting to end my own video like that as well. The second, admittedly far less artistically sound reason, is that Volume 2's Abyss quest is almost exactly the same as Volume 1's, with Haseo and friends bumming around cave maps and finding a cult of mages that are trying to summon the god of destruction, Ceranos. Keep answering forum posts and investigating, you'll eventually unlock the Abyss quest in the quest shop, which takes you to a long dungeon with several guardians before finally arriving at a demonic version of the Morgue Barrow Wall. Here, you'll be faced with the super boss of Volume 2, the One Sin. The giant demon's main gimmick is changing its elemental attributes, but regular attacks still hurt it regardless, also known as all of Haseo's attacks. Yeah, I didn't know that when I brought two mages to the damn event. Turns out you could just smack it with a stick until it dies. It's a pretty simple boss, all things considered. Just attack whichever hand isn't shielded, and then unload on his core until it goes down. And enjoy watching the AI get completely obliterated time and time again as they face tank all of the attacks with zero sense of self-preservation. This big fella drops the Flickering Scale, an accessory that nearly doubles all of Haseo's elemental resistances at this point. A satisfactory reward, but the preceding battle was sort of underwhelming for a super boss. Hell, I had a harder time with Ovan. Stronger, bigger numbers, not much else is different. If you've acquired the doppelganger weapons by this point, you should have no problem taking this guy down a second time. Completing Return of the One Sin, and by extension the Abyss quest, nets you the Rainbow Scale. Armor for Haseo that has an intrinsic 25% damage reduction in addition to its high stats. An excellent piece of gear for us to bring along into Volume 3. Well, this is a lot of new imagery to process. Look what the chubby anime furry dragged in. Looking far less deceased than you should be, Ovan. The prologue introduces us to Aina, Ovan's heretofore completely unmentioned little sister. She too has been infected with Ida, but seemingly in a different way than the Lost Ones, as her avatar remains in the world. Ovan has already attempted to data drain the infection from her with no results. They're playing coy about details to build the mystery, but two things are made clear. Aina was and still is very sick, to the point where she's been forced to live in a hospital for some time. And everything that Ovan's been doing is to save her. Well, let's forget about that scene for 10 hours. Meanwhile, at the Serpent of Lore, Yada gets his Discord mod status revoked by the Conehead Council.
I just don't get it. Ovan! I won't run from this! And I will finish this once and for all!
We rejoin Haseo, still pondering and processing the events of the past few days. You know what I do when I'm listless and depressed, Haseo? I check my email for mandatory plot events. There we go. The squad's tournament victory has once more secured Kennard a spiffy new guild hall, this time in the big boy city, Sigma Breg Epona. This is my favorite of the hub towns for sure. I like the bright, spacious, sort of modern city vibe, and it's honestly the only one of the hubs that screams MMO to me. I feel like I've played a half dozen MMOs where the main city has a tone just like this. As their at-home continues to advance, Kennard is able to apply for even further upgrades that can be purchased with GP, which is just dandy because there's been no real use for the you can earn since Volume 1. Doubly so now that the doppelganger equipment and lost weapons are in the mix. There are quite a few extensions available, like the gold extension that expands your inventory space by 20 slots, and the half-off alchemy upgrade that makes alchemy cost half as much. You get it. There are even more possible, but that requires raising Kennard's guild level by filling out the Book of 1000 first. And that is a level of grinding I would not wish upon anyone, especially not in Last Recode. At least in the PS2 version, you'd be doing twice as much grinding, which would sort of help you fill out the book more. But before we get a chance to dig into any of that, Death Grunty foists a quest upon us. Moontree was shut down for reasons, leaving their Grunty, Mellow Grunty, with nowhere to go, and he's since disappeared. Our task is to go find him, which is strange because the Grunties are NPCs. They shouldn't have personalities or be affected by real-world events. Spoilers, I thought this was going to lead to some kind of revelation about the Grunties being self-aware or alive or something, but no, it's just a weird quest that never gets brought up again. But I wouldn't even know where to start looking. I mean, if we knew somebody from Moontree who could—
Haseo!
Despite more recent events, Adelie's been broken up over the dissolution of a community that meant so much to her, so she decides to tag along with Haseo and make sure Mellow Grunty is okay. The party finds the little pig demon thing out sulking, but quickly perks up once it sees Adelie. The whiny fella heads back to the Grunty village and even sends Haseo a thank you email. What is the deal with these things? I only wrote this part of the script and kept it here because I just figured at some point this would come back, but it just doesn't. Opening quest behind us, the main narrative comes a-knockin' when Pi comes to Haseo with an emergency. Following his demodding, Yada has gone missing, and Pi is losing her marbles about it.
Nobody's here.
Then who's operating the Serpent of Lore?
The Master of the Serpent of Lore.
They wasted no time resurrecting this fucking brat, huh? So it seems Sakaki is still alive because, I mean, of course he is. He fell down a cliff in a video game. Haseo didn't even use his avatar against him, remember? But surprise, Sakaki is here and he's still bonded with that Ida egg whatever from before. He even brought a present.
Away from keyboard, as they say. He's left the keyboard for all eternity.
Sakaki, with startling mental acuity, then yells at Yada's playerless corpse for 2 minutes.
He was nothing but a filthy little insect, How dare he defy me?
Yeah, it just goes on for a while. Sakaki has gone drunk with power, and his immature narcissism has completely taken over. No more nice guy facade to be found here. I'd be more upset at the lack of depth, but this gives him exactly the same amount of complex motivation he had in the second game. That being none.
You bitch!
In a twist that the game better have a really good explanation for, Sakaki has been officially sanctioned by CC Corp as the new system administrator. When I tell you who Sakaki is in real life, this will be even less believable.
Now, this is my order as GU administrator. Pledge allegiance to me. Go out and work in my name.
Nah, I don't really feel like it.
Wow, he really just let us walk away. While the group isn't bound to Sakaki's will or anything like that, his new position does mean he controls the Serpent of Lore, putting him in position to monitor the entire game and spy on them at all times. Not to mention the drawback that goes hand in hand with that, the protagonists no longer have access to the happenings of the world at large or any behind-the-scenes info. This could be the beginnings of a serious disaster. Better go screw around with syllabus and guess, Bart! It's an excuse for me to talk about new gameplay stuff. This first change, I'm not even positive is new. It might just be a lot more widespread now. Something keeps happening that was driving me fucking insane for hours because I could not figure it out. When you're attacking in this volume, Haseo will often stutter and flinch like he's taking damage. It's not specific enemies, it happens way too frequently for that to be the case. I discovered later when I found a set of armor that had a counter ability installed that this is just a new thing that can happen, where characters will let out counter damage whenever they're hit with basic attacks. Often elemental or tied to a status effect. I'm not gonna say it's good or bad. Anything that creates any kind of challenge is probably for the better. I just kind of wish there was a more concrete visual indication of what's going on. One could argue this system creates a reason to add anti-status effect buffs to your armor, which were entirely pointless in the last two volumes. The more substantial new aspect we need to get a hold on is virus scores. When Haseo used data drain in previous volumes, we would sometimes get plot important scenes that, while appearing to be and being explained as a new gameplay mechanic, were actually just story keys only obtainable at specific times. This changes in Volume 3, where a similar gimmick is implemented via virus cores. The Divine Awakening option has been upgraded into the Avatar Awakening, in which Haseo draws out the power of his epitaph to data drain enemies and suck out that tasty virus core goodness. There's no input for the attack anymore, which is kinda disappointing because it just turns the Awakening into a 15-second cutscene you could skip, but with how often you'll be using it, that's not really a complaint worth holding on to. Avatar Awakening is unlike the other Awakenings in that it directly levels up with more uses, becoming stronger and eventually evolving into a different move entirely called Drain Arc, which drops even more cores. You really have no reason to swap to the other limit breaks. Not that they're bad or don't have situational uses, but I had equipped Avatar Awakening the entire game, and even when it reached max level, I still wasn't even halfway to perfecting all the lost weapons. Oh, that's what virus cores do. Their purpose is to upgrade the 7 lost weapons, a way to keep them relevant even as stats continue to rise. Each goes up to level 4 through feeding virus cores. Then for the 5th and final stage, the team is put up against a stronger version of the exact same boring Disc Guardian Golem thing that was already fought to unlock the weapons in the first place. Don't worry, they still have way too much goddamn HP while basically dealing no damage. At max strength, each lost weapon will undergo a transformation into a new named weapon with an enhanced version of its unique skill. A fine system that is let down by the fact, as I stated, you won't even be close to having enough cores to level these all up while it would still matter. Hell, I had a measly 2 weapons maxed out by the time the cast hit the level cap at 150, and I was ready for post-game content. The earn rate is just too slow, even if you're constantly hitting every Rengeki to pull Awakenings off multiple times per dungeon. I would recommend pumping what you do get into Haseo and Adeli's weapons. Haseo because you'll be using the weapon yourself, and Adeli because not only is she forced into your party by the plot 50% of the time, there's only 2 dedicated healers in the game, and the other one isn't even around until you finish the story. But wait, John, what happened to those keys from before? Well, you see, small Victorian child, Adler's keys have been nixed wholesale for these virus cores, and all the Epitaph users are given their weapons from the start this time. So if you'd previously unlocked a lost weapon in Volume 2, the consolation is that they start a level higher in Volume 3. I really wish I knew about this, as I had tons of Adler's keys I never used because I planned on using them in Volume 3. My foolish inability to waste rare items in RPGs strikes yet again. Haseo gets an email with a few more details about the mess that's been unfolding, mainly the how. Sakaki was gifted the administrator position because he convinced CC Corp he could fix the entire Ida disaster, using his control of Ida during the Moon Tree incident as proof. Yeah, totally in fucking control. GU needs to meet up to discuss their plan going forward, but where the hell can they talk where Sakaki won't hear everything? As luck would have it, there's a previously unmentioned aspect of the world that will solve this. Ida's corrosion of the game has left behind gaps in the code referred to as outer dungeons. The glitched, half-broken back end of the game, populated only by bugs and junk data. Ha ha ha, modern game development. Through the use of a technique called area hacking, the most corrupted points in the world can be opened up and allow players to pass through to these distorted worlds. When you see static dancing across the screen, it indicates that the game is very unstable in that region. Haseo can let out a pulse to search for the point where the distortion is strongest and tear open a portal at that spot. Though during non-story dungeons, this only results in extra items. The outer dungeons themselves look great, full of shifting, untextured polygons glowing in the void. You gotta love that 2000s neon cyber style when people thought this is what the inside of a computer looked like. The enemies are a little repetitive here, as there are only 2 main types of bug, and a third one that doesn't show up until the game is about to end, but outer dungeons aren't that frequent for it to be a problem.
So let me get this straight. This Yada guy got in a fight with the higher-ups at CC Corp and got fired?
Well, Yada had mentioned before that someone is behind Sakaki, pulling his strings.
Ovan.
It's not just Sakaki. No doubt everything that's been happening up until now.
Was all Ovan's doing, right? Bastard. He just does as he pleases.
The Epitaph users meet up free from Sakaki's gaze and decide that their best bet right now is for Pi to find Yada, considering she works for CC Corp and all that. It's not like anybody else has any idea what the hell is happening, and if they find the reason for his removal, it might be a clue towards what Sakaki and CC Corp are up to. While both Kun and Haseo couldn't possibly give less of a rat's ass about Yada, and given all of his sneaking nonsense, it's understandable, they still agree to stick through the plan for the sake of everyone else. While Pi gets to hunting, Haseo and the rest of the players get a startling email from the new management. The upcoming Sage Palace tournament has been converted into a PK-based event, with all of the entrants being chosen based on how much of a massive bastard and or bitch they've been to other players. To encourage participation, the town's Breg Epina and Lumina Cloth are to be enabled as PK zones. Might just sound like edgy griefing, but if any of these people are infected by Ida, they could be creating more lost ones. Hell, it almost seems like that's the entire point. Taihaku, the Sage Palace Emperor, who you do not remember, don't act like you do, issues his challenge to the denizens of the world alongside this rule change, offering them true death in the championship match. With the tournament about to get underway, reformed Llama Alpaca guy Sirius becomes deeply concerned at the familiarity of the proceedings, and so invites Haseo to watch the Sage Palace title match to get a better grasp on things.
It seems they're going to give a huge sum of net money to the winner of this tournament.
By net money, you mean cash?
It's a fucking Bitcoin tournament too? God damn it, Sakaki, you've gone too far.
Was that Ida? Has Ida corroded the sword's data?
Let's go. I don't want to see Taihaku like this.
So, yes, we're doing this a third time. Taihaku and his fancy sword are infected with a vast amount of Ida, so it's possible Tri-Edge and Ovan has something to do with this. The toxic-ass free-for-all tournament rules, however, that was all Sakaki, who assures Haseo's compliance by threatening to release more Ida on the world if he doesn't play along. You would think all this strangeness will be causing panic, or at the very least raising a few eyebrows, but talking to all the other players of the world, it becomes evident that basically nobody cares about half the game becoming a war zone. The frequency of Ida-related incidents, or how downright insane this entire tournament is, have Pi, Kun, and Haseo floating the theory that the entirety of the game might be transforming into an Ida server, scrambling everyone's emotions and self-control. Even past allies are getting into the Sage Palace tournament, like Antares and Matsu, who's an ally, I guess. I think he became a party member at the end of the last game. Who should both be well aware that this is a trap by Sakaki and Ida, but don't even seem to consider the possibility. They're more interested in using the event as a stage to stoke their pride, even when Haseo explains to them what's happening, asking them to just please understand what's going on and withdraw. They still see showing off and winning as more important. Fuck, I hope the rest of our friends are doing better.
You jerks. What did you do to my friends? Let's get out of here!
How could the towns be PK zones? Who's the genius that introduced this system? Who is this supposed to be fun for?
It's unforgivable! Haseo, we have to get the world back the way it was, for Syllabus and Gaspard.
Yeah, you're right, Adelie. I can't forgive anybody who'd take their joy away.
Yeah, we should get to work fixing this. Understanding the tournament-based task yet again in front of them, the Epitaph users get together to determine their team for the arena. They try to, anyway.
I won't be joining you this time.
What?
Yeah, I'm with Master N. Later, Haseo.
What the cinnamon toast fuck is going on around here? Entrance was slobbering all over Haseo 24 hours ago. What the hell changed? Am I not good enough for you anymore? Well, Pai's gonna have her hands full with Yada Quest, and we still have Haseo and Kun, but Taihaku is infected and the other participants are likely in the same boat, so it's too dangerous for Adelie to be around Ida with no avatar.
Please. Please give me strength to protect everyone I can. I'm right here! Ines!
Oh shit, cool, that works out then. The game then throws us into a random quest with Matsu. This has always been the structure of the GU series, but it feels like it's at full force here and is almost never deviated from. You answer your email, get invited to a dungeon quest, answer an email, smack around some jabronis in the tournament, see how the story advances, then rinse and repeat. You might assume I'm pointing this out to complain, but it's quite the opposite. Volume 1 especially had severe pace mishandling, as I said in the video covering it. The gameplay to story ratio was aggressively out of whack. If you didn't take the time to grind, you were severely underserved in the gameplay department. Volume 3 does a much better job of balancing the plot and dungeon crawling, almost always tossing a side quest with a little bit of character building for your party members in between each main narrative event. And hell, it gives a little smidge of extra personality to a lot of the people we've met so far, and does assist the game's attempts to endear me to even absolute friends list space filler like Matsu. I'll be up front, this perceived equilibrium is absolutely a vibe-based observation. For all I know, maybe there's technically the same amount of gameplay in all 3 volumes. Maybe Volume 3 has the worst gameplay to story balance. Thinking on it, I imagine the biggest contributing factor is the gang's eviction from Raven's at home. Whereas before you just warp straight to a room for plot advancement, now GUs need to stay hidden means you have to assemble your party, enter an area word, then dungeon around until you find an appropriate meeting position. It's a small change, but it adds up over time. Trust me, I will have my critiques of this first chunk of the game, but the gameplay to narrative balance isn't one of them.
Welcome to the Sage Palace. I am Sakaki, the organizer of this PK tournament.
Oh no, it's yellow now, what are we gonna do? If you cast your mind way back to the very start of Volume 1, you'll recall that Haseo's Terror of Death title comes from his time as a PKK. It just so happens to coincidentally also be his epitaph. So, an entire tournament revolving around PKers is bound to attract both contestants and viewers that hate Haseo's fucking guts. The demon possession balls that feed off negative emotions are just the icing on the pissed off cake.
Perhaps you remember them.
No.
Let the match begin!
Tempest Blast!
Hey, did you guys know you actually can forcibly change targets during battle? Turns out I was wrong before, and it is possible, but only if you use the D-pad. I suppose you could rationalize this as it being like a menu selection, but every menu in the game is also controllable with the left stick. I think it's an odd decision, but now the arena battles are even easier. So it's a good thing this new survival battle structure is a really smart idea to add challenge to the arena. You can't use items to heal or restore SP, and and healing spells prep more slowly, so there's a level of caution that needs to be exercised to balance your resources. Or it would, if your opponents could even damage you. I'm not significantly over-leveled based on the last dungeon the game sent me to. I think the Heinz weapons with their effects, alongside the flickering scale with high resistance, and the rainbow scale's 25% damage reduction are just too damn powerful at the moment. This is the kind of problem that can only be solved with scaling enemies, and scaling enemies would make leveling up feel less impactful, not to mention eliminating the primary point of the area word system. There's just no way to balance each game for both people who blitz through the story and those who completed the post-game content. If you only played the story and didn't grind at all, you'd probably just barely be getting to level 100 at this point, and your gear would be far worse. And in my opinion, it's better for a game to be too easy than too hard. I'm not a big fan of games that are based mostly on trial and error. I mean, player knowledge, or whatever people call it now to convince themselves they're really good and not just really patient. I mean, the clear answer is just to have a friggin' normal mode and hard mode. It leaves me rather stumped that they never bothered to do this, or at least add an original mode that reverts the combat number adjustments. Making these even worse is the presence of a cheat mode that maxes out everything and makes you functionally invincible. Not because I think accessibility modes are bad, hell, I think more games should have them, but if there's already a feature in place to help people who need it, I don't believe the base game should have been made such a cakewalk.
What's the matter, Sakaki? Is this the best you can put together?
You know, it's been one setback after another lately, so it's about time our heroes got a win. Everything's looking up.
Bad news, Haseo! It's serious!
Serious?
Serious? A lost one? Not just Alcade, but now Sirius too. Once again, I couldn't save anybody.
Haseo Empire message by Kaede, one of the ex-leaders of Moontree, as well as the suspiciously agreeable Tot with an as-of-yet unexplained motive that's still by her side. It seems like they only called us out here to ask about Sakaki, but...
By the way, Pai, the outer dungeons. Those area hacking programs of yours are really amazing.
How do you know about that?
And my hatred of fictional children is once more validated. The pair walk off like nothing happened and agree to contact us later if they learn anything of you. Later is now. Thanks, magical electronic mail. Zelkova displays even further awareness of the situation within CC Corp, and offers the possibility of tricking Sakaki into battle and data draining him. This would likely get him removed from his position, as his IDA control is the only asset he has that keeps him in the company's good graces. Trick him into fighting us? Fuck. It's gonna be really hard to trigger a self-obsessed online gamer with the temperament of a screeching baboon. Maybe try accidentally dying a single time in League of Legends. That usually does the trick. The tournament marches on. Today's matchup pits our heroes against Asta and Eoten. I got their names right this time. The PKers that team killed Haseo back on his first day in the world. Also some third guy. While I'm sure this could be wonderfully cathartic for Haseo, he's grown a lot since then. I can't imagine he's still upset about it.
I'll carve the terror of death into your pathetic body!
Haseo!
Haseo! No, it can't be! Wonderful, Haseo! Kill them! Finish them off with your avatar! Don't hold anything back! I won't go back to being the terror of death! I won't let myself drown in power! I won't lose myself!
Hear that, Sakaki? Your anime rage power bullcrap don't work no more. Skimming past some filler quests, the semi-finals of the PK tournament are about to begin. Team Haseo's opponent is Antares, which our ex-edgelord notes is strange. If this is meant to be a tournament based around griefers and the like, why would a squeaky clean good boy like Antares be invited? Whatever surely Sakaki-related nefarious reason is behind this, it'd be dangerous to let Antares continue in the arena without an avatar. Best put him down now.
This is not as we discussed, Sakaki. Sending the infected into a PK tournament? Some have already become comatose.
What did you fucking idiots expect?
Guess this is the best an old man can do.
You know there's no way I could have let you win.
To protect me, you mean? I appreciate it. Thanks.
Now that won't do, Terror of Death.
With the battle's conclusion, Sakaki's gambit is revealed. He accuses Antares of throwing the battle for Team Haseo given their relationship and turns the crowd even further against them. He then takes his cheater claim to its logical conclusion, charging Haseo with the crime of being the depraved hacker responsible for Ida's corruption of the world, displaying his past exploits with his avatar as evidence.
What are you doing? Say goodbye.
There'll be no more trickery from you, Terror of Death!
Bastard!
The worst part of this is that Sakaki isn't entirely lying this time. Haseo was off and around when Ida attacked the arena, and he only got this far because he was abusing Skaith's power. He's genuinely changed, yes, but the Ida-influenced audience full of PKs he's taken out in the past aren't exactly in a position to understand that. This whole thing may be a trick, but it does the important job of showing how even on the road to redemption, you can't simply erase all the wrong you've done. You can't undo what's already happened, and there will be people who won't believe your apologies and promises of change. But you can't let that discourage you from doing the right thing.
You know, Haseo, your avatar, or whatever you want to call it, might seem like cheating to many of the other players, and they're not gonna like it. Maybe it's even unforgivable. But then, you have a larger purpose, don't you? Something you have to do in the world.
Haseo is walking the path of redemption because it's what he knows in his heart is right, because he wants to be better for the people important to him. He's done bad things, but he's learned, and even if there are those that'll never forgive him and always doubt his sincerity, it doesn't mean he should use that as an excuse to just give it all up and go back to being an insufferable bitch. He should change for the better because it's how he should be, not because he wants to be praised for fixing himself and magically wipe the slate of his past mistakes clean. Go ahead and put your least favorite social media apology here.
Haseo's terrible guilt runs deep. I disqualify you and banish you from the Colosseum, as well as the world!
Wait a moment.
Taihaku! Entrance! Sakubo! What are you guys doing with Taihaku? Why? Why would you side with Taihaku and with Sakaki?
It was well worth the trouble of opening this tournament, if just to hear your pitiful voice right now.
Taihaku uses his sway as Sage Palace Emperor to request for Haseo's ban to be repealed. Thank God, Sakaki's desire to see Haseo violently destroyed outweighs how obvious of a bad idea this is on his end, so he goes along with it. But not taking any more chances on generic players, Sakaki sends out his own personally curated collection of cantankerous cronies to stomp out his enemy for good.
Team Haseo's opponents are here! Ladies and gentlemen, it's Team Hetero!
They are not fucking called that, shut up. Who are these DeviantArt recolored Gumby arm having clowns? When you first see Team Hetero, they're completely alien to the world. The colors they use, their clothes, they all look like they belong in some sort of sci-fi future setting rather than fantasy steampunk. They don't even have the same model proportions that the rest of the cast do. Though that all looks to be the result of their entire bodies being replaced by that black and red Ida flesh gunk we've seen before. You can't help but wonder what the hell Sakaki did to them. On the violent side of things, these three will combo you to hell and back. They are absurdly aggressive and lack a dedicated mage, so it's all face smacking all the time. I could imagine getting stuck here in the PS2 version, being too weak to survive getting air comboed without a decent chunk of XP farming first. But making sure you level up your armor at the alchemy shop, it's very easy to forget to do this, and a little bit of caution is more than enough to get us through here in Last Recode. I really am sorry about not delving into gameplay much till now, if that's what you were hoping for. Aside from the Avatar Awakening, the fights are 99% the same as they've been since Haseo reached third form in Volume 2. No new weapons or gameplay systems, no Avatar sections yet. We've viciously beaten the dead horse that is the subpar challenge level, and there haven't been any gimmick-based opponents so far. so far. That's a lot of criticism, I know, but I want to be on record stating that the gameplay is never outright bad, and I never hated it. That satisfying hit stun on big moves and the animations keep the button mashing engaging enough, and there's never such an overwhelming number of battles without a break for story that I get sick of it. It is an old game from old hardware. A lot of action RPGs from the time suffered from a lack of combat variety, and basically none of them run for the absurd length of the GU trilogy. Coincidentally, the only games that I can immediately remember from the time that hold up with a similar gameplay formula and runtime are Tales of Symphonia and Tales of the Abyss, both also published by Bandai Namco. Come to think of it, maybe the ability to play as other party members or a multiplayer mode like Tales of would have been a good idea.
Did we get him?
Help me, please. Someone help me.
I can hear their voices. Those children, they're suffering.
I'm using the Avatar. But Haseo, if you do, Sakaki will— Shut up! To hell with Sakaki! I told you. I'll use the Avatar when and how I damn well please! Okay, come on. Come on! I'm right here! Skate!
Huh, I was just talking about how we haven't done this lately. Hetero's Ida takes the form of the same disgusting spider as Bordeaux, but it's a fine warm-up given how long it's been since our last Avatar encounter. Not like anything's changed yet. By data draining him and his brothers, Hetero is saved from Ida without any serious harm. Man, we are blowing through the arena this time. Just as well. No reason to drag it out when it's basically a formality at this point. The next in-between quest feels a little out of place compared to the other ones, because it seems to only be here to ship Adelie and Haseo. After kicking a rapping cow, don't worry about it, we have a scene that literally just has Haseo think to himself how cute he thinks Adelie is. I'm not paraphrasing, it's exactly what he says.
Adelie, was she always as cute as she is now? And I feel really relaxed whenever we're together.
And just like that, we've already blitzed through to the end of the tournaments. You may have braced yourself for the typical 3-on-3, but despite the big show of Entrance and Sakabo betraying us, Taihaku casts them aside and chooses to take down Team Haseo on his own. Sure, good luck, asshole. Of course, a boss is finally hard. And it's because it's complete bullshit. Taihaku has near constant super armor, so he usually won't stagger unless he's countered, meaning 90% of the time he'll attack through all of your attacks like you're not even hitting him. And once he does realize that he's being attacked, he'll activate his special aura, which boosts his defenses even more, constantly casting an AoE spell that damages your entire party, even through their guard, and slowing Team Haseo to a worthless crawl so you can't escape. The perfect setup for him to blast you point blank in the face with a gunshot that you can't block. Hell, he can activate his install while he's guarding, meaning that he will often power up, blast out his AoE over and over until it runs out, then block for 10 seconds, and go right back into fuck you mode. Your best chance of survival is keeping what little distance you can when Taihaku casts his aura, but your retreat will usually cause him to swap his focus to your party, and they're even dumber than you are and will stand around eating damage. This turns the boss fight into an invisible timer. You have to be able to kill Taihaku with the handful of counterable moments that the game will allow you before Kun and Adelie die, leaving you fucked over with no healing and no distraction. I have to believe that I was underleveled for this fight, or missing some aspect of Taihaku's strategy, because this encounter is so uncharacteristically jank and unfair that I refuse to accept that this was made by the same designers. I can deal with the aura, the slowdown, and even the wave attack, but the super armor is just too much. I cannot fight a boss that does not flinch and explodes when I get near him. After my 4th attempt, thank goodness, our protagonists are able to free the sword from Taihaku's hands, severing him from the source of his item before he transforms. No Jelly Man form for you, you forgettable so-and-so. Oh, this might be worse, actually.
Haseo, no!
This is a nice scene, but it does have the unspoken implication that everyone who was affected by Ida was just a sissy that wasn't trying hard enough. Sakaki is omni-done with our shit, and is finally goaded into jumping down to kill Haseo himself, which may look bad given the current situation, but if you recall, this is one of our win conditions.
Meddling insects! What? It looks like your friends are no longer available. Die, Haseo! Die! What? Curse you to hell!
What? Master N? Why'd you do that?
I was looking for a chance to get you.
After his attack, Entrance stops for a moment to pity what Sakaki has become. He was chosen and manipulated by Ida, which isn't strictly his fault. Numerous people we've met have been on the receiving end of the angry ball virus, but none of them completely gave in and embraced it like Sakaki has. It does make me wonder if what Hiragi and Adelie say is true, if Sakaki ever was a good person, or if he's always secretly been like this.
Damn you!
It's no use. He's given his body and mind over to Ida.
Bastard!
For the second time, Entrance offers up his power to Haseo, which should get our boy past the fatigue Ida caused him a moment ago.
Come on. Come on. Damn it. I've still got too much damage.
I love when media uses the expectations they've built up to pull a misdirect like that.
Haseo!
Haseo!
Take this, Haseo! I am.
And I!
And I.
And I'm...
Right here! This is the end for you! Sakaki!
Do you guys see why I put up with the occasional gameplay and pacing issues? Moments like this, everyone calling for Skaith together, is the kind of payoff that makes me happy to trot through some weirdly balanced, usually too easy combat. Sakaki Victorian is not that kind of combat. This marks a turning point where Volume 3's difficulty abruptly starts becoming more appropriate. I didn't feel nearly as overpowered in this encounter or going forward from here. Sakaki's arts are strong and usually deal multiple hits with very strict timings to avoid damage. You need to either start dodging as soon as possible or wait until the very last second to start deflecting blasts. That way your combo will last long enough to block the entire attack. Without last Recode's boost to Skaith's health, I may have gotten pretty close to dying in one of these battles for a change.
But that's impossible. No. No. No, no!
No, I don't trust this shit. Go down there and curb stomp him. That bastard already crawled back once. The tournament announcer is very confused about what just happened, but decides to deem Team Haseo the winners anyway. Sure. Even more good news rolls in, as with perfect narrative timing, Pi has found Yada. Looks like the pieces are slotting into place for the end game. Wait, how much time is left in this video? Oh god.
Oh, it's you! I did everything exactly the way you asked. I acted out your script precisely. Hey!
It looks like they're here.
Ooh, looks like I might get my curb stomp I requested. This is the end of Sakaki. I'm not skimping on anything here. This is the last time he appears or is directly mentioned by the plot. And we still don't know anything about him. He was the main villain for about half the series, and we don't know a single thing about him other than he's got a generic bad guy god complex, and then he wants to control the internet and force people to be nice to each other. This is really all we got to go on for a major antagonist. There is a reason for this. Sakaki's entire backstory and motivation is in the game. In the news section of the desktop. We'll talk about it in the next video when we cover the GU supplemental materials. If you do not know the twist about Sakaki, I envy you, because it's impossibly dumb. In the realm of dim-witted character motives, we now know that the reason Yada has been missing is because he's a little fucking sad boy over being kicked from the mod team. Are you kidding? People could be dying, you sniveling know-it-all. While I still don't really like him, Yada's present and future behavior made a lot more sense to me when I learned that he's 17. He's actually years younger than Pi and the same age as Haseo, the king of immature decision-making. There could have been some amazing parallels and story opportunities here if this information was, you know, in the game anywhere instead of sitting unmentioned on a wiki. There's gotta be some better emails here. Congratulations for everyone for winning the tournament. Those are nice. Hey, don't just try to sneak in the middle of the list like that, Ovan. My least favorite blue boy has sent us a tiny message, see what's up, how we're doing, explain that the entire story up until now was his idea. Big plans, mysterious purpose. Get stronger, Haseo, yeah. The takeaway here is that Sakaki couldn't have released Ida onto the world, contrary to his braggadocious threats. See, Ovan only ever gave him the exact amount of Ida seeds he needed for each step of the plan, so Sakaki never had any extra Ida to cast out into the world. If you think this means the last 10 hours of the main plot were a waste of time, and just Ovan fucking with us again, well, I wouldn't stop you. A message from Saku, and not one telling us to kill ourselves. That's refreshing.
Saku, what did you want to talk about?
Well, here's the deal. I'm here to say goodbye.
Huh, she sounds different.
I don't get it. Why are you saying you're going to quit all of a sudden? Did something happen?
The reason I'm quitting is because my job is done.
Your job?
Yeah, that's right, my job. Face it, now that you're here, there's no need for me anymore. You see, my body only exists here in the world. And my mind only exists inside of Bo.
We're gonna ignore any possible real-world implications of Sakubo's dissociative identity disorder and just make things more digestible by taking the situation at face value, you know, for narrative's sake. No breaking out the DSM and picking at the realism or healthiness of Saku and Bo's relationship. That's not the point of the story. As Saku admits, her overcompensating inferiority complex and her desperate attempts to be noticed by Endrance, someone so beloved and powerful, were all the result of her desire to be needed. This thinking of hers is why she rejected Haseo so immediately. Haseo was kind to Bo when they first met, and Saku felt threatened by that. And that feeling amplified as time went on, and Haseo gained the favor of Endrance as well.
Nobody in the whole world! There's nobody in the whole world who'd be sad if I wasn't here!
But that's not true! If you leave, Bo will—
I don't care what you say to me! I said I'm going, and I'm going, and that's that! I'm not doing a thing you say, you stupid busybody!
Saku!
Saku running off starts a chain of emails that spans through the next few plot beats, where you can respond to Saku about her ties to Bo and her insecurities. Try to convince her that she has value even if she isn't real. It's possible to respond to these in a way that is not only comically mean-spirited, but also really out of character for Haseo at this point. Haseo tries to find Saku, but Pi hurriedly calls everyone to Raven's at-home for an emergency. The same way the game started, proving that the main plot really probably could have just started right here the whole time.
Ovan,
So what's your plan? To awaken the 8 epitaph users, I assume?
That is one of my processes, yes. But the greatest concern I have for my plan's success is you, Yata.
Is it because my avatar has not yet awakened? Maybe so, but I'm better than the other epitaph users. Better than Haseo. And better than you, Ovan.
The big takeaway is that Yata is the 8th and final epitaph user, though he hasn't awakened it yet. Despite proclamations, he's the greatest of them all. He goes off on a tangent about vying for the love of something called Aura. How Ida are gods of another world that he desperately wanted to earn the favor of. He's chronically addicted to a video game and losing his mind.
Master Yata!
My greatest regret is that this face was not in the game sooner, so I could have got more use out of it.
I alone, more than anyone, understand the world and love the world. So why? No, no, no!
I'll suppress it with my avatar. It's our only chance. Okay, come on. Come on! I'm right here! Skate!
Fun behind the scenes fact for you guys, I had to manually resync all of the avatar transformation audio because for some reason it's all horrifically desynced in this game. Let me show you what the raw footage looks like.
Okay, come on. Come on! I'm right here! Skate!
Meet the last of the epitaphs, Fidel the Prophet. Avatar showdowns from here on begin introducing their own gimmicks to retain their impact and keep your attention. Fidel specializes in techniques that move slowly and hound you while you're trying to deal with his other attacks, having to cut away his projectiles in time to dodge and move on. On top of that, Yata doesn't just sit there and let you fill him with missiles, often teleporting and making emptying his stun gauge before it starts refilling a bit of a challenge. I like that it sort of incorporates Fidel's ability into the fight. He is the Prophet, so his style is to try and plan ahead with layered attacks and preemptive dodges.
Hold on! Please, hold on! Say something, please!
Oh no, not Yata.
Not the Yatas!
What a beautiful story. Maybe even my new favorite. Ovan? Next time you visit, will you read it to me again? I promise to get better. Okay, Ovan? Okay?
Yeah.
Ovan?
There's no more time. The last resort.
Back on the desktop, we return to various emails from Pai and Yata, the latter of which tries to explain himself a bit more. How he looked up to Ovan as a master hacker and wanted to be like him. This is another moment where the fact that Haseo and Yata are the same age would have been a nice piece of lore to mention, as they're both 17-year-old boys who had a sort of big brother relationship with Ovan before he seemingly betrayed them and left them for dead. On a brighter note, GU has been reinstated on the condition they fix this Ida shit right now. CC Corp is frantically searching for any way to get rid of this disaster before it gets traced back to them. With his powers fully awakened, Fidel the Prophet is finally profiting tearing. I know it's prophesizing, it's a joke, shut up. Pai and Yada have narrowed down the prophecy Fidel was spouting during his battle with Haseo, referring to someone with an aberrant power in their left arm and the key of twilight in their right, who will bring a surge of rebirth and force the gods to their twilight. You know, kill him. The rest of GU all reached the obvious conclusion here. We all only know one fella with a fucked up arm, and he's been behind everything else so far.
Hello.
Hey buddy, we were just talking about you. Ovan gives the gang an area word and invites them to go after him.
Wait a minute, where are we?
The Creator's Room.
Mr. Big Brain welcomes the other Epitaph users to the Creator's Room, which he likens to a metaphorical black box. In layman's terms, it's the lore void, left here by the ones who made the world. A dev room. Only this time Bethesda isn't banning anybody for getting in here. Haseo demands to have everyone's souls returned, but Ovan assures him that's impossible, and there's no point in doing so anyway by now. But hey! Remember when you destroyed the Moontree server? It reawakened all those lost guild members. Maybe there's a slim chance killing me will bring Shino back. Haseo and the gang should be questioning why it seems Ovan wants to be killed so badly, but fuck that, it's face punch time.
Now, destroy me, Haseo! You see, if you want your truth, you must take it from me!
Bring it on!
Ovan's trolling behavior comes through from the second the fight starts. Instead of throwing down with Haseo and pals, he just stands there, barely moving, as if he's still only testing Haseo's strength and not taking him seriously. After measuring up his opponents, our pal Tri-Edge launches into an even tougher version of the Volume 2 final boss. His Ida spheres are still present, but he almost never uses the attack variant anymore, spawning a shield orb and 2 healing orbs, or just straight up 3 healing orbs. The near instant respawn rate makes the fight a rush to somehow deal enough damage before he becomes invincible and cures himself again. It took a while, but I eventually realized I had to save up an awakening and activate it at the last possible moment to finally whittle him down to nothing. Following this is another round against Corbinic, who annoyingly has adopted regular Ovan's shield that completely negates all damage. Not to mention his stun meter just doesn't deplete most of the time, even when the barrier's not up. Wait, second data drain? You have to data drain him twice in quick succession while also avoiding this obnoxious bullet pattern. I don't know if I said this before, but you can't charge while dodging, so this is a tight window. Like, well, let me show you.
Rebirth. Using the terror of death as a key to trigger the resurrection? Was that your plan all along, Ovan?
Ovan's plan since the very start was to use the Terror of Death, the epitaph that holds a piece of all the other avatars within it, to drag him so close to death that it triggers Corbinic's rebirth, a failsafe reinitialization program that will reboot the entire internet, destroying countless systems with only a vague hope that this will remove Ida from existence and heal Aina. I have my thoughts on this reveal, but Haseo himself says exactly what I'm feeling better than I ever could.
You bastard! Why didn't you ever trust me? And why? Why didn't you really believe me? Tell me!
I did believe you. That is why I chose you, why I protected you, why I raised you like I did.
That's it? You finally come clean and now you think everything has been straightened out? This close to the end? When things have gotten this bad? Tell me, how many people do you think you've hurt since this started? How many have grieved? How many have suffered? You stepped on so many people just so that you can achieve your self-serving dream! No one has that right! Everybody grieves! Everybody suffers! Everybody has truths they want to ignore! You are not special! You're just like everyone else! Ovan!
This is my favorite vocal performance in this entire series. You can feel in your bones how simultaneously hurt and blindingly furious Haseo is in this moment. Betrayed again by a person who he thought was his friend, who manipulated him for months on end, nearly killed the ones he loves multiple times, put the lives of millions in danger, and possibly got people killed, all for the sake of maybe saving one person because he thought his pain was infinitely more important than anyone else's. How much of Ovan's behavior is Ovan and how much is Ida isn't presented in black and white. But what's clear as day is that he was far more complicit and cooperative than he should have been. In spite of being savagely berated by him, Ovan thanks Haseo for bringing him his key of twilight, the 8 epitaphs. In reality, the key of twilight isn't a specific item, but a more abstract concept. A key of twilight is any sort of thing that leads to the truth hidden behind the world. Something that can bypass the system's parameters and lead someone to their truth.
Wake up, Ida! The time has finally come to be set free!
Oh right, fuck, I'm a global terrorist now. You ain't gonna catch me in jail. Peace out, bitches. No jokes this time. Just fuck, man. Back in part 1, I never would have imagined we'd end up half dead in a desert after the whole damn internet implodes. We've come a long way. Haseo dies so hard he flies all the way into Kingdom Hearts, until a shrill voice calls him back to the world of the living.
Having learned of Ovan's truth, you are on the verge of losing yourself.
Oh crap, right, Zelkova. We haven't tied up that plot thread, have we? Things start getting weird and existential for a bit. Haseo questioning his reason for living. How did he end up here? What was all of that fighting for? No, me and the entire internet have sufficiently run that joke into the ground.
Ah, yes, I found you.
Nah, we're not doing this. Skip ahead to the part where you accept the negative parts of your personality and it makes you stronger. I've droned on long enough about Haseo's character, like I don't think you guys need to hear it from the game too. You know, there probably should have been a boss fight here. This anti-Haseo, representing Skaith, is only in this one cutscene. I wonder if an encounter was cut here. I figured you guys didn't want to watch the entire transformation thing again. I think it's a nice touch to Haseo's final true form he achieves at the point of self-actualization, removes all the stereotypical emo black and red nonsense from his character design. That try-hard spiky show-off shit wasn't really reflective of his character anymore. The Xth form, which is how you say that, is a special, one-of-a-kind transformation that only Haseo has access to. There is no equivalent class in the World R2, which you could argue makes Haseo himself a key of twilight, reaching a form beyond the system that will allow him to find the truth. It introduces a bunch of totally new gameplay mechanics to the table that would have really been better additions if we had an entire game to use them rather than 40% of one, but I'll try to enjoy what we get anyway. To start off, Haseo now has a 4th weapon type, dual knife pistol things. They're fired with the attack button and run on an infinite ammo supply that does have to be reloaded when the clip's empty, though you can manually reload by pressing guard. The gunshots deal more damage the closer you are to the target, meaning you can pick off enemies from afar, but the result is pretty pitiful. You're going to want to close in, then duck back to reload, which is where we can get use out of the dodge Haseo can now access with any weapon equipped by double tapping the guard button. Why are action RPGs so stingy about just having a fucking dodge button. Took us like 50 hours to get here. This maneuver lets you quickly dash in any direction and has next to no cooldown, making it one of the most satisfying combat mechanics to get good at. Flying around opponents to avoid all their attacks and tear into their blind spots lends a level of speed and fluidity that the combat has been sorely missing. The last upgrade is the double trigger, which can be used after any skill trigger for an additional combo ender that will also switch Haseo over to his guns from whichever weapon he had equipped. The speed and versatility of the guns and how well they integrate with the existing weapons makes the battle system finally feel fully fleshed out and complete. I just wish we could have reached this point sooner. After escaping the darkness, Haseo finds himself in an eerie, jumbled series of alleyways, referred to as the Net Slum. It's a small, dank hub city with inhabitants that are nothing like the other races in the world, being mostly these small robot creatures with emoticon faces. There is one other thing that lives here. Haseo decides to go look for Zelkova. It sounds like he should know what in the Matrix bullshit is going on around here lately. So, Zelkova hacked Haseo's character, connecting it completely to his epitaph, meaning our boy is running purely on his own raw gumption at the moment, and that will is what brought him back from the edge. The rebirth caused a massive shockwave that consumed the entire net, scattering and damaging the players of the world and leaving those who remain in this place, Tartaga, a sort of out-of-bounds area drifting through the periphery of the world run by Zelkova. The Antler Child also managed to gather up the rest of GU, conveniently enough. Reunited, the heroes catch up on the bridge of the gigantic turtle that houses the Net Slum on its back. Ancient mythology shit, don't worry about it.
Wow, the town!
Since the rebirth activation, there hasn't been a single report of any Ida phenomena anywhere. Ovan, did you get everything you wanted? The lost ones are gradually returning to normal in the real world. But Shino...
Nah, I'm just fucking with you. So while the internet outage has caused a myriad of complications on real-world society, the world itself has gone relatively back to normal. Ovan's rebirth actually worked, at least it appears that way. No Ida incidents or self-filleting brats hosting murder tournaments. A few of the lost ones are waking up, but as Haseo informs us, Shino is not one of them. Through various emails, we get a better idea of where everyone is at mentally after the reinitialization, and also learn that CC Corp is using Ovan as their get out of worldwide riots against them free card, blaming him and him alone as the sole hacker responsible for everything that's occurred over the past few months. Amidst all this, Yada is up to something and calls Haseo to help him check it out. Oh, fuck. We're not done yet, are we? I am so very tired. It looks like we've gone from balls to tentacles, and God, I hope nobody clips that out of context. Yada calls them anti-existences, formerly known as Cubia, the shadows left behind from the usage of otherworldly powers that the epitaphs hold. They're a sort of balancing measure set in place by the creator of the world, a counteracting darkness to the blinding light of Ovan's rebirth. A light so powerful that the anti-existence it created is far more dangerous than originally intended. The Cubia pose just as much, if not more, of a threat to the world than Ida, and if they were to destroy the game before Shino, Alcade, and the others have woken up, I think you can imagine. Shortly after, Haseo gets a message from Aina, of all people. Unlike Haseo's friends, she has recovered from her Lost One status, and she knows who Haseo is because she has traces of Ovan's memories, because part of her soul was trapped in his messed up arm. I mean, sure, whatever excuse we need to avoid a giant exposition dump for her.
Haseo, I was wondering, do you remember when you first met my brother? My brother saved you, remember? He guided you and helped you! So I don't understand! Why didn't you save him?
So do you have his memories or not? Did you miss the part where his tentacle arm yeeted me across the room and then he cut his stupid triangle into my ass? Did you see that bit? For once, I don't have time to get mad at small children. Much worse things are beginning to take shape in the world.
Humanity is teetering on the verge of the third network crisis.
Oh, Haseo!
Bo, what's wrong?
It's Aina. Some terrible monster I've never seen before is after Aina.
The scene where Aina gets introduced and the scene where Aina gets attacked are actually back to back like this. This is not editing trickery.
Aina!
Shut up! Oh. Those guys are the ones that are breaking the world right now, aren't they? If my brother isn't in the world, then let it end for all I care. If they think my brother was bad, then their stupid game can just go away forever.
Wow, this is like the polar opposite of endearing a character to the audience. Unlike Sakubo, who at least is a vessel for hammering in some of the game's messages, Aina does not have any substantial role to fill in the story. There was no reason for her to be in the game after her revival, other than the writers trying to make you feel bad about Ovan the ass clown. I think Aina is one of the few characters that they just completely fumble, but I do think there might be a reason for it I'll explain near the end. She's just Ovan's plot device, and the second plot device character with no screen time or purpose other than motivating a different character. And for the record, I don't like that one either. Now then, back to business. If the heroes want to eliminate Cubia ASAP, they need to cut it off at the head. But you can't cut something off if you don't know where it is. Yada suggests, completely unironically, asking God. In the world, that means the AI goddess Aura, the girl whose statues have all gone missing, mentioned all the way back in Volume 1. According to Shino, she lost all hope for this world, so I doubt she'll be in a rush to help us out, but it's worth a go.
I'm coming too. I have something that my brother gave me. Ovan.
Hey, what did Ovan leave with you anyway?
Aina produces a book that Ovan left for her, a book originating from the creator's room, the Epitaph of Twilight, filled with a bunch of lines that make zero sense if you haven't read the world background section on the website. Oops. Skate starts reacting to the passages in the grimoire, so our protagonists have the idea to bring all the other Epitaph users here as well. But Yada reminds Haseo what Ovan said to him, that he's absorbed a portion of all 8 Epitaphs through his battles against them.
All right, come on, come on! I'm right here! Skate!
Our spooky long boy has evolved into spooky long pale boy. Also lightsabers.
Here goes!
The 3 Azure Knights are crazy, but also hands down the best story fight so far. Off the bat with the obvious observation, there's 3 of them. Kite, who stays rooted in the center, casting spells, while Orca and Balmung fight head on. You can't do the usual thing where you pick them off one by one like the arena. They'll not only activate their invincible warp nonsense from their last encounter if they're in danger, but also respawn every 30 fucking seconds as a result of their unblockable team attack that I swear I got hit by like 6 times. Pick at Kite when you can and make liberal use of the dodge. Patience is going to be key here. Even if it takes a while, wait until Orca and Balmung are distracted with your party members, then sneak in some shots at Kite. He's the only one who matters because he can't resurrect. The fight itself, the location, this actually feels like a big climactic battle you have to overcome. Not some punching bag to slap around or pink exploding bullshit. Kite even gives us his silly ass fork swords for our trouble.
Yes, of course. They're Aura's knights.
Then that means they were after anomalies in the system of the world. They were after Ida and Ovan.
Having bested her guardians, Ori uses Aina's body as a vessel to communicate with our protagonists. She offers them the solution of sacrificing their epitaphs, and therefore their characters, back to the world, which would remove the force that Cubia was created in opposition of. But since Ovan is gone, that doesn't seem to be a possibility. He is currently on the run from the police, I believe. With Cubia's impending approach, there is no safe place left in the world. So the team heads somewhere that isn't the world. The Epitaph users and the remaining civilian players are all transferred to the net slum, leaving behind the decaying remains of the world to be consumed by Cubia. According to analysis, the parasite is overloading and causing a form of necrosis to take hold of the internet, rotting it from the inside and leaving the entire planet on the brink of collapse. And if the social and economic turmoil of this isn't enough of a motivation for you, Cubia's influence on computer systems is having an unfortunate effect on nuclear facilities all over the Earth. And if it remains unchecked, Cubia could cause a global series of meltdowns. There's your real world stakes. Nuclear holocaust. It's quite the fucking escalation. Faced with a battle they're hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned for, Haseo and the others still decide to make a final stand against Cubia, taking them all out one at a time if they have to. GU decides to put out a mass announcement to the server, pleading with any of the remaining players of the world to fight alongside them.
Haseo?
Saku.
Well, look who decided to show up and help.
So, you're back. And,
Stupid!
Huh?
Maybe you thought you won me over with that stupid email, but you so did not!
I'm only adventuring with you again because they're so hopeless. Just consider yourself an extra to Master N and Bo. You got that?
As far as I know, this is the only major cutscene that can be missed. Remember those negative responses I talked about? If you choose to meet Saku's worries with anger and dismissal, you will not get this scene. You won't get any scene. Saku will no longer be a usable party member and won't appear anywhere for the rest of the story. I guess it's time to talk about Sakubo's real backstory and how it relates to the themes of the game. See, Saku isn't an entirely fabricated idea from Bo's mind. Saku is his twin sister, sort of. The real-life Bo, a boy named Iori, did have an older twin sister named Sakura, but she was stillborn, leaving Iori the survivor of the pair. Bo's parents blame him for what happened, and wish that she had survived instead of him. Internalizing this, Bo's mind created a version of Sakura to cope with all of the hatred he endured, his tough older sister who would always look out for him. Now, we know that souls do exist in the .hack universe, and since Saku and Bo operate their avatar Gore together, and epitaphs are tied to the soul of their user, it's not entirely clear if Saku is purely a mental creation, a piece of Bo's soul that's been split off, or maybe Saku has developed some sort of soul of her own. What is clear is that Sakubo's arc ties in well to one of the most reoccurring themes in the franchise: how things do not have to be real to affect us. It's the same stuff Haseo's been learning from Adelie, Syllabus, and Gaspard, that even if something isn't physically, tangibly 100% real, it can still affect you and have an impact. While our brains can rationally understand the difference between reality and fiction, they don't appear to make that clear distinction when it comes to emotions. It's why you can be invested in the struggles of a hero and want to see them improve, or be devastated when your favorite character is killed off. Fiction is still the communication of ideas from other people. It asks you to think about and imagine experiences you wouldn't normally, to put yourself in the shoes of someone else and empathize and connect with them. There's still another human being on the other end of that media, doubly so in an online game, where you're experiencing that fictional world with others and making connections. Haseo not only improved because of all the people he's met in the world, but also because he learned to respect the world as a form of artistic expression, as a collection of human experiences, as an important place that brings people together to the point that he's willing to fight for it. That isn't to say it's always good. The message isn't be addicted to video games, dog, it's great. The GU games also tackle what can happen to people who are attached to fictional worlds in a negative, unhealthy way, or try to use it to say terrible things or put terrible ideas in people's heads. The point is that good or bad, fictional worlds are still a conduit for human emotion and connection. It doesn't matter if Saku is real in any kind of real world physical sense. What matters is how she affects Bo and the others, and that's all that matters sometimes. And just used up all my sincerity points for this episode. Back to irony poisoning, I guess. Zelkova has pinpointed the areas where the Cubia are the most concentrated. Big surprise, they're all lost grounds. We'll need to go to all 4 locations and hack into the outer dungeons resting there, then destroy all the Cubia Gamoras infesting the place. Hopefully it will buy enough time for somebody to locate the main Cubia body so GU can eliminate it. At each location, the team meets up with the players who have chosen to stand by them. All the friends and acquaintances we've made along the journey. I know like every single JRPG does this, but after 3 games and a year of working on these videos, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't working on me.
Damn it!
Hey now, don't just stand there.
Arcade!
Hey there, Haseo.
You woke up.
Who do you think you're talking to? I'm always in top shape. You ought to know that by now. Whoa! Hey now! What are you doing?
Don't you disappear on me like that again, okay?
Haseo.
Yeah, forget this. I'm definitely feeling more of a bond with that lady who's been in 2 cutscenes that I've never met. I've been dropping very subtle hints. Can you tell I don't like how Shino is written? Thanks to everyone's efforts, Cubia is no longer spawning new entities and has stopped long enough for Zelkova to get a lock on it.
Haseo? My brother really loved the world. So please, Haseo, please save this world.
I'll never forget Ovan.
This is fucking hilarious to me, because if you haven't watched Roots, all Ovan has done within the games is be needlessly cryptic, attempt to murder multiple people, and spread a deadly plague that gave hundreds of innocent bystanders paralysis and set them into comas, only to then blow himself up and unleash flying tentacle balls that are gonna nuke Earth. He's an unlikable piece of shit whose only interactions with Haseo, regardless of his motivations however righteous they may be, have been pissing him off, lying to him, or trying to kill him. Yeah, I'll remember Ovan all right. The 7 remaining Epitaph users work together to find and clear the last outer dungeon that leads to Cubia.
It's as if this is the road to hell.
Lovely flooring, though.
What?
Okay, somebody is gonna have to tell me what I'm looking at here. What obscure mythological thing is this based on? Which weird Norse god is the shattered ball sack full of slugs?
Fidel!
Thomas! Magus!
Oh, that's how you say that.
Please, give me strength to protect everyone. Ines!
This power is... I am the... terror of death. All right, come on, come on. I'm right here. Skate!
All right, we're actually in control this time. Let's see what full power Skaith can do. In a change that my controller appreciates, Skaith's missiles have evolved into a salvo of lock-on shots that just need you to hold down the fire button. And hell, even the Scythe's melee now launches shockwaves on every swing. This is welcome, as the enemies here are so large and constantly writhing that hitting them with a standard close-range attack would make the fight drag on in a bad way. I say a bad way because the fight does drag on, but in an intentional good way. After playing a few rounds of Pop the Slug, Cubia's second phase totally overwhelms you with numbers. Not just Haseo, but the player themselves. This encounter goes on, and you do start to feel like there's no end to these things. But eventually you'll wear it down enough for a data drain.
Take
Oh, right, we're not dealing with the spooky orbs anymore. Well, it made a nice opening at least, through which the team forced their way inside to destroy Cubia at its core. And here we are. Not exactly a final dungeon, but the closest we're gonna get. Thanks to Aura linking the players of the world together, you can change your party one last time to consist of whichever party members you want to accompany you to the end, not just the Epitaph users. The game also warns you to save on a different slot when you get here, so you can still go back to town and grind on your previous save if you end up stuck. Something I've never seen a game say before, but good advice if you're not crazy like me and make a million additional saves anyway. Another similar warning pops up soon after, cautioning the player to not use their best party just yet. There are so many games that would just tell you to fuck off and randomly guess this next part. The remains of Cubia have split into several smaller cores, creating doppelgangers of any player they see. Haseo and whatever friends are tagging along will have to defeat each set to clear the path, with more and more of the group staying behind to hold down the fort and keep the respawning shadows at bay. Don't be alarmed, these fellas aren't nearly at the strength of the post-game doppelgangers. Though some party members, particularly those that use magic, can cause a bit of trouble when they're duplicated. So I guess you could purposefully pick the party members it would be easiest to beat if you're really struggling for whatever reason.
We can settle everything now. Everyone, are you ready?
If I'm with you, Haseo, then I can't lose!
I've just got to give this battle all I can! Let's fight this together, Haseo!
This is it! We're putting an end to it all! Let's go! Here goes!
Final boss time. Boy, that thing on its head looks an awful lot like Haseo, huh? Almost like it's a reflection of his actions that caused the rebirth. The Cubia core, Cubia is a stupid sounding name and I'm sick of saying it, is a giant monster with 3 health bars, one for each of its arms and another for its protected heart. Each part of it is weak to different weapons, encouraging to use everything you have against it. The heart can be exposed by weakening its limbs, and hey, hold on, this is just the Ceranos fights from the Abyss quests. If I didn't know better, I'd say this is a callback to Ceranos being the god of destruction in the world's lore, and Cubia being a destructive force birthed from the world would have naturally taken a form similar to it. Or maybe I'm giving them too much credit and they just wanted to reuse a boss template, I don't know. Cubia's largest deviation from Ceranos is that it's constantly summoning Cubia Gamora. Big surprise. Technically they're weak to the scythe, but the guns work great here to quickly pick them all off without having to chase them around, as they don't exactly have much health. The monster has a few attacks with gigantic obvious windups that you can easily block, but your party members can't. In its second phase, it, like all the climactic bosses, gains an undodgeable auto attack. I highly advise holding circle at this moment because this attack is not fucking around and will kill you. So you need to be keeping the whole squad's HP up at all times. You should have Adelie with you to help in that department. I can't even imagine trying to do this without her.
Did we do it? Huh?
Could it be aiming to destroy us too? Is it self-destructing?
Of course. Just like our BFF Ovan, Cubia is just gonna blow itself up and kill everyone anyway. With no other recourse left, the team all give their epitaphs to Haseo to enact Aura's plan. Even if Korbanik is missing, they have no choice but to try.
Only a strong prayer can change the world.
And now, you have them all.
Ovan!
Can we do it, Haseo?
Yeah, of course we can. All right, this is it. It's time. All of the feelings that I've carved deep into the world are going into this one attack!
So, Cubia has contracted a lethal case of the crust, causing it to fall apart beyond regeneration. In usual anime fashion, all we had to do was hit it super extra hard with friendship. Who'd have thought?
Ovan.
This is goodbye.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
One ending, you know, is really a new beginning.
What the hell are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about, Ovan!
Summon up 60 hours in 5 seconds.
I still have so much I want to say to you! Ovan!
Ah, it's good to be back. It's been quite some time. You know, I think I'd like to open my email.
Haseo, I was watching you the entire time.
Ooh, are you sure you saw everything? Maybe just kind of scrub over volume 1 for me.
Haseo?
It's time for Waifu Wars 2023. After the most awkward conversation and lengthy stare down I could ever possibly imagine, Adelie runs off, overcome by a mess of emotions, leaving Haseo with Chino, the person he's fought so hard for this entire time. Or at least that used to be the case, right? I gotta figure this is because I've yet to sit through all of Roots. Again, you should not lock vital character development in a 24-episode mediocre anime, but I'm still pretty cold on Shino. She's been this enigmatic figure from the start of the first game. Most of the time, she doesn't even feel like a real person who's actually part of the story, but a generic prize to motivate Haseo. Even when we do see her, she comes off as this aloof, emotionless, profound line delivery machine who looks and sounds half asleep. This is hard for me to put into words. She comes off as this unflinching ghost who's above the other characters and the events of the story. It feels like she doesn't even relate to Haseo by the end of the game. She offers to start the Twilight Brigade again with only her and Haseo, but as she said, Shino's seen everything that he went through and knows that Haseo has changed, knows about his friends and everything that he's endured. And so, seemingly feeling that disconnect herself, she lets him go.
Haseo? I saw it all. Everything.
Shino.
Now be honest with yourself.
Oh.
You're watching, aren't you? Ovan.
I feel like I'm far more mixed on Volume 3 overall compared to the last two volumes. While Volume 1 is a meandering, imbalanced carried by its style, voice acting, and masterful OST with the promise of future games, and Volume 2 adds combat complexity through weapon switching and refinement of the basics, alongside a faster-paced, more meaningful story with more developed characters that had me ready for more. Volume 3 stumbles out of the gate until it really finds its footing around the halfway mark and finishes strong with a climax that, against all odds up to that point, manages to bring it all together in the final act. The battles in the beginning are a big part of this. Fighting is identical to Volume 2 for a massive chunk of the game, and the weapon art earn rate, even in Last Recode, is so slow that you aren't even getting new moves to spice things up. Even if you're arena grinding for the boosted weapon XP, oh my, stars and garters, do these bars not fucking move. The levels you'll be going through start getting stale as well, with only a single new dungeon type in the entire game, if you don't count the outer dungeons, which are only visitable at designated story points. And this complaint, I admit, is me, not being a big proponent of old school RPGs. But the generic hallway, randomly generated dungeon shit gets pretty old by your 60th hour slogging through it. Good thing there aren't any other PS2 RPGs with interesting stories that have this problem. Hell, you don't even really get any new party members until the post-game, where you just get a whole chunk of them all at once. Then, of course, there's the big criticism that everyone has about Last Recode. The game is just too goddamn easy sometimes. I know that Last Recode increased the XP earn rate and a few other tweaks, but it's not the general difficulty that bothers me. It's that the story battles are significantly less imposing than random dungeon encounters that lead up to them. Like, you'll be taken to a level appropriate area to grind for the next boss, only to find that the enemies in the field deal more damage than the boss you're preparing for, who is an even higher level. Even when the game says that the opposing team is several levels higher than you, they still barely scratch Haseo. I'm happy to report that this more or less fixes itself during the second half. Around the rebirth, balance starts to feel much more natural. There are some decently tough encounters and a variety of combat options added by the X form, and that all goes a long way to making the gameplay feel exciting again. But that first half was rough to get through at points. My opinion on the game being split in two halves, quality-wise, applies to the story too. It is a plot that is, at points, simultaneously dragging its feet, while also rushing through and cramming in way too much without knowing what to do with it. By the time I'd finished the main campaign the first time, I could not even remember what happened in the first half. The tone and plot direction is so unfamiliar and disconnected from the first few hours that I started to question if GU would have fared better as 4 volumes like IMOQ. A third volume focused on the return of Sakaki and ending at the rebirth, then a final volume covering the effects of Cubia, the destruction of the world, giving Aina something to do, and possibly some more time to actually flesh out and redeem Ovan rather than him just showing up at the end for a few seconds. It's like the story is written in 4 acts, but 2 of those acts are shoved into one game. While I wouldn't say I disliked the first half, and there are some top tier moments thrown in there, all that guff about Sakaki and Taihaku and another tournament doesn't tie into where the narrative ends up heading, and feels more like the plot being stalled so the main story can hit 20 hours. I think the best way to put it is that the first part of Volume 3 feels like an extended epilogue to Volume 2, reinforcing and wrapping up characters and their arcs set up in the first 2 volumes, while the second part of Volume 3 feels like the actual new content that advances the plot. It is unfortunately at times a plot that, while interesting, introduces a million things at once with no time left and only holds together on the strength of its characters and their interactions. Now, if this video was made around 2008, this would be the end of our road. But here in current year, that is no longer true. Last Recode not only remastered and tweaked the original 3 titles, but also added a brand new epilogue to help fans say their last goodbyes to this version of the world. So next time I pry myself away from grinding Mega Man post games for Patreon videos, we'll come back to .hack to take a look at all of the secret dungeons and bosses, the hidden party members they hide, nabbing ourselves a life partner, more supplemental materials such as the movie .hack trilogy, and the last entry in the franchise to date, .hack GU Volume 4. Hey there, thanks for watching. If you like early videos and extra videos like Battle Network post-game reviews and other stuff, go over to the Patreon and it's $1 and I appreciate it. We'll be starting the Star Force 3 streams at the beginning of January over on Twitch. So come on over if you are interested in more Blue Boy nonsense. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe and share it with your friends and pester them about buying this 20-year-old ass game that nobody cares about anymore. Or don't, it's entirely up to you. Thanks again, everybody. Happy holidays and bye-bye.